Let's talk about activating scripts. How do you run a script? How do you initiate it? How do you make that script run? Well, most of your scripts are going to be run by clicking on a button, somewhat like this Done button here. You click on it and it highlights, and then when you let go, it actually runs it. And I'm going to move away so it doesn't run it. That's a button. It runs a single step like we've shown you already, or it can run multiple steps. And you can run multiple steps by going into FileMaker, into the Manage Scripts. And you'll see all these multi-line scripts in here. These are more than one step per script. Then you also have your Perform script step. This allows you to run a script from another script. So script A can run script B. And this is very useful. We will use it for modular scripting quite a bit. Then you also have your scripts menu. We just showed it. It's this menu right here, and you can see we have one script underneath it. It's called About. And the reason it shows up in here is because of Manage Scripts. It has a check mark next to it. That's how you decide whether it shows up under that menu or not. Then you also have keyboard equivalents, which is really the same place. Each one of these scripts that's listed under here has a keyboard equivalent, 1 through 9 and then 0. You also have the Perform button in the FileMaker dialog. You go to Scripts and choose Manage Scripts. And when you click on a script, you can run it with this little play button down here. Now, this is just the same as running it through a button, but you don't have to have it attached to a button. This is more in the development stage, like, I want to see what this button does before I attach it to a script. I haven't taken the time to put the interface on there. I want to run it and test it. Or maybe it's a subscript. It's one script calls it and it only runs a portion of it, and you don't have it attached to a button. You just want to run that portion. There's a lot of things you can do by running scripts from here, but it's really a developer feature. Then you have Open and Close scripts. Those are in File Options. And we'll go over to the File menu and choose File Options, and you'll see them right here. This particular slideshow happens to run a script called Tip, but you can run one on Open or on Close, depending on what you want to do. So those are very useful because they run based on an event. On the opening of a file or the closing of a file is when that script gets run, not by clicking a button. Then you have plugins and other third-party products. So there's many plugins on the market that allow you to run a script based on an event, such as entering or exiting a field. It can also run a script. Let's say you want to go ahead and interface from the plugin to FileMaker. Well, it can run a script inside of FileMaker, or a script can communicate to that plugin. So there's a lot of things, interaction between plugins and scripts that go on. And then you have other third-party products such as AppleScript on the Macintosh or Visual Basic on Windows. And those can go ahead and activate scripts in FileMaker and get them running. Then you have web publishing. There's Instant Web Publishing, or IWP, XML, or PHP, which are both custom web publishing. All three of these methods can run a script from a web browser to communicate with FileMaker. Then you have custom menus. Custom menus are great. They will allow you to change the menus up here. You don't necessarily want a records menu inside of your solution. You might call it contacts and change this to new contact and duplicate contact and delete contact. So it's closer to what your solution does rather than closer to FileMaker. You want it to represent, or you want to customize your solution. And so what you can do here is, instead of doing, let's say, new records, you could have it run your own new record script that does a few extra things. Or maybe you have find mode. You want to run your find script. There's all kinds of things you can do. You can substitute these menu items with a script, or you can make a brand new menu item that runs your script. So that's very useful and very common thing to do. Then you have script triggers. Script triggers are great. They allow you to run a script based on an event. So it's kind of like what I was talking about with the plugins, but this is built into FileMaker. So you can say when I'm entering a field or exiting a field, or when I go to a layout or leave a layout, or there's tons of things. We're going to go over them in a lot of detail. And you'll find out that they're very powerful. And because they're so powerful, we're going to go over them in the advanced tutorial. They're quite complicated, and so we're going to cover basic scripts. We won't get to script triggers till much later. And then you have FileMaker Server. FileMaker Server can run a script at the server. You might think, I want to go ahead and send an email out to anybody who has an overdue invoice. Or I might want to export this data or import this data from an ODBC client. There's all kinds of things you can do that doesn't necessarily need to be done at the client level. The users are connecting to the database. This is something that needs to be done in the middle of the night or on a regular basis. Maybe it prints out a report or something. Something that doesn't require user interaction. FileMaker Server can say, do this at 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever you want. So here's all the ways you activate a script. It's important to be familiar with them, but realize that the most important ones are at the top. A button, perform script step, the scripts menu, and we can come down here to custom menus and script triggers, but they're down farther down because they're more complicated to do. If you understand how to run a script from a button, you're going to be most of the way there with scripts, and you'll be fine and ready to go when you start running your own scripts.